Hey everybody, welcome to LinuxCast. I'm your host, Matt.
I'm Drew.
And I'm Nate.
Welcome to the LinuxCast. We're going to talk about some Linuxy things tonight. But last week, we enjoyed the no structure so much that we're going to basically do it the same way tonight. We're eschewing topics, and we're going to do Q&A. We're going to take them from the chat. We have some from Discord. We have some from YouTube. I didn't put a call out on Mastodon. I probably should have, but I'm forgetful. You guys know me. So that's basically what we're going to do. So we have some questions that we're going to be going through. And we'll just go ahead and get started here on the first one. So, in traditional Matt fashion, I probably should have these pulled up beforehand. But so coming from Raven in the Discord, what was your first wow or OMG, this is so cool experience with Linux or self-hosting? So, Drew, what was your first wow moment with Linux or your home lab?
I'm going to go with window managers. My first time using a tiling window manager, and it changed your workflow so significantly. It was like, wow, that was unbelievable. I love this. This is what I've been looking for in terms of in terms of a huge shift from where I was with Windows. And even when I was using XFCE, I was like, wow, this is awesome. So yeah, working or getting a tiling window manager to work and have it change my workflow completely.
Nate, what about you? What's your first wow moment with Linux or self-hosting?
We're going to go all the way back to the cool hip-hop days of 2006. And yeah, the first time I actually installed Linux, and it was about 14 times faster than Windows Vista. So yeah, that was my first actual wow moment.
Yeah, so mine is actually exactly the same. So in 2017, when I switched full-time, and needless to say, the funny part about this is that my experience is with a file manager. So surprise there. So I installed Ubuntu Budgie, and it uses Nautilus as the file manager. And I was so used to Windows. On Windows, you launch File Explorer, and it takes like 5 minutes to load, no matter how minimal your system is. And I would sit there for like a fidget spinner. I'd open Nautilus, close it, open it. It just instantaneously. It was shocking. I mean, it was crazy. Like I think if you had to narrow down one moment where I would say, that's the reason why, that's the moment I decided I was going to switch full time, it was then, because it was like, God, that is lightning fast. And it's just like, I don't think I realized how slow Windows was until I realized I could open a file manager and it would just launch. I didn't have to wait for things to load like it was a GeoCity on dial-up. This is crazy. So, the same as you, Nate, just very, very quick. It's insane. And it still shocks me to this day how quick some of these things are. Granted, I've experienced slowness now on Linux too, so it's not all peaches and roses. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. From Fraggle on the Discord, how long did it take you all to be comfortable with and use Linux full time instead of hopping back to Windows or Mac after a mistake or a misstep? So, Drew, what about you? Did you switch back and forth?
I did not switch back at all. I mean, there was no reason to, basically, because I'm not a gamer. I just want to get my work done, and Windows was not affording me to do that. I could not get my shit done on Windows at all because it crashed constantly. It was uber slow. It was just an utter nightmare and mess. And when I switched to Linux, all those things went away. There was literally no reason to go back. That would just be stupid. So yeah, no time was spent on Windows thereafter.
So this is going to be a hard question for you, Nate, because you still use all the operating systems, but you consider Linux your main operating system, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
it's still my workstation.
So back in 2006, back in the olden days, as you say, did you hop back and forth, or did you just stick with it?
No, I probably did until probably about 7 years ago. And then I kind of decided I was going to go just because I was having problems with, I'm trying to remember, I was having problems with Arch. And so I decided I'm just going to stick with Ubuntu, and that's just going to be it. And I did that for a couple of years until I was introduced to Pop! OS, and then the rest is history. So
Pop! OS, our savior.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a question that none of us are going to actually be able to answer, I think, all that much. AJ Rancis from the YouTube chat says, how long have you been a distro hopper? Drew, how long have you been a distro hopper?
It's been some time. There was a period of time where I was kind of hopping between Arch and Fedora and Ubuntu and whatever, Linux Mint, but not in a long time. Not in like years. Have I? No, I've been on Debian for years. So,
and for years to come, he's never leaving that.
No,
he's gonna be down.
You know what though? It's funny because I when I was writing down like some like sample questions that we may end up using at some point, one of them was, if you had to switch, what would you switch to? I think that's what I wrote down or something. If you had to.
We'll have to do that question because that's a good one. All right. How about you, Nate? How long have you been a distro hopper?
Technically, okay. How are we going to look at this? Are we talking about just our main system?
Yeah, that's fair. Actually, I think one that you're doing production on.
Okay. Well, I quit distro hopping 7 years ago because that was whatever installed. That's what it was. The only time I did actually switch was to Pop! Which was technically still Ubuntu, but anyways. But yeah, that's when I quit kind of distro hopping. Now, if you ask about my other systems, yeah.
Okay, so for me, I don't think that I've stopped. Like I've slowed down. All right, so when I first started, and I've told this story before, I hopped probably. There were some times where I hopped 2 or 3 times a day. It was bad, because so I gotta remember, I had no clue how anything worked, but I had this stupid idea that you had that the flavors of like Ubuntu, like if you wanted to use KDE and Ubuntu, you had to use Kubuntu. If you wanted to use XFCE, you had to use Ubuntu. So if I wanted to go use a different desktop environment, I would wipe everything and go install the distro that had that particular flavor of desktop environment. It took me a idiotically long time to realize that I could just install whatever I wanted. Not ashamed of that at all, apparently. Because I tell it all the time, but I would say that I haven't really stopped because I know that NixOS isn't my final distro or whatever the fuck this thing is. It's fine, but I'm 153 days in. I already know that when I get to the end of the 2-year challenges, I'm going to either do another 2-year challenge or I'm going to find another distro of some kind. It's just it very unlikely that it will be NixOS will be my final stop. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just over it. That's the way I would explain it. So I can't say that I've stopped distro hopping, and maybe I never will. Because I mean, part of the thing about being a YouTuber, especially a Linux YouTuber, is that being exposed to the newer distros is kind of good. So I use that as an excuse to say, hey, let's go check something else out. And like Nate, I have a laptop here that has a rotating slate of Ventoy instances into it over and over and over again. All right. So Tethy's in the chat says, if you could have a meeting with Linus Torvalds and he could or would make a change to one aspect of how Linux works based on your request, what would you want changed? Nate, we're going to go with you first.
If I met him, I would request that he gets onto every corporation and beg Blackmagic to make Resolve a flat pack.
Oh God, yes. That's can I use that one too? I want that one too.
Yeah. And figure out that is it AAC codec? Like figure that out.
Yeah, it would be nice if codecs were better on Linux. All right, so what about you, Drew? What would you ask Linus Torvalds to change if you could?
That's a tough one. That's really tough for me because I just I don't know if any of you guys watch this Linus Tech Tips and Linus Torvalds actually like have that like long conversation and stuff like that. And I was like, man, he seems really nice. And I don't know that I can complain that, when it comes right down to like seeing him face to face. I don't know. That's a good question. Come back to me, Matt. Why don't you see are you going to use the Resolve one though?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the one that I want to use, but I will come up with something different. So what I would ask him to change is to make it easier for there to be one place for support. Like if because right now there's no real the Linux kernel, which is basically what Linus works on, isn't a community service. You know what I mean? It's not for us. I mean, as much as we are the Linux community, we're really not. And I think that one of the reasons why it feels so disconnected is because it's so corporate. Like his work is for the big companies, and I think I would ask for there to be a better connection between the Linux kernel guys, the team, whatever, and the community itself, and for it to be more of a just a better relationship, because it's honestly just the truth that the Linux kernel guys don't care about desktop Linux at all. And I just wish they'd care just a little bit. I mean, there are other people that, are in the, like Red Hat. Obviously, there's some people there that, like GNOME and everything like that. And there's big players like that. But the Linux kernel guys, none of them care about, half of them use Macs. That's the thing. So I just wish they'd care a little bit more. So, Drew, did you come up with one?
Yeah, I'm struggling to. The thing that I was going to say, which I kind of pushed, I wanted to say something about too many package managers. Can you have more centralized package management? But that would really that would not work. That wouldn't work. That goes against FOSS principles. It's like, okay, you can use Arch, you could use Fedora, you could use Debian, you could use, and that way. I wouldn't want to give any of those up. And I'm sure a Fedora user wouldn't want to give that up and so on. So yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one because what he's doing is so stinking specialized. Has such narrow focus. I don't know that I can come up with anything that directly affects the kernel. Yeah, I guess it was a more broad thing. Anything in Linux. I couldn't get myself off of just the kernel is so freaking
most of the stuff we'd probably ask for has nothing to do. We can't ask him to make Fedora better. He has no influence over Fedora really. He just uses it.
Which is why I said have him to go to the corporations and say, hey, can you add this?
You just ask for a favor. Can you just call in the chip? Can you just make it better for us? That'd be great. It's just easier to install. That's all I ask.
Just walk in and be like, hey, that billions of dollars you made from my invention? Yeah. I want this done.
Yeah, it would be nice. Yeah. All right. Layla on Discord asks, do you have those days where you wish you weren't using Linux? Either you guys have a situation where you come up with, you just, I'm so sick of Linux. Not ever. Neither of you? Nate?
No, because if I get bored, I start tinkering. So. And
Drew, Debian's just perfect. Right?
Yeah, I feel like I'm stuck and I have no freaking recourse except to stay in the same lane the rest of my life. It's just that's it. I don't know. Yeah, that sounds lame. I sound pretty lame.
I think the problem here for all of us is that for the most part, Linux is and it doesn't matter really what distro you're on, whether even if it's not a real distro like NixOS. Linux has become so stable. Even if you use Arch, as long as you're updating it, fairly frequently, and you're not doing stupid shit, you can make Arch as stable as Debian. It's crazy that you can. But you can. OpenSUSE is exactly the same way. It's a rolling release. You use that thing. I think I used it for 2 years. I had one time where an update came down and broke something, and that broke Linux wide. It was a Mesa update. That was just that affected everybody. Linux is just so stable now. It's just the days of bashing your head against the wall because something went wrong are over, unless you're the one that broke it. If you did something wrong, then you can't really. I don't want to use Linux anymore because I'm a dumbass.
User error.
Yeah. So, no, I don't think for me either. All right. So, with the award for the greatest username ever from Grumpy Donut, they ask, with the fact that this is a little bit of a paragraph, so forgive me. With the fact most of the cast is well versed in Linux and seem to have similar interests, have you ever considered bringing someone on the podcast that is either not experienced with Linux or more of a gamer-focused individual? Link Arzu, be prepared for an email in the new year. We're gonna have him on. We're gonna try to get him on anyways. But yeah, we're gonna get some more people on. I guess it was more of a question for.
I'm the gamer-focused one here, so.
Yeah. The problem is that Drew is such an old man at this point. he looks at us gamers like kids.
We kind of miss Tyler not being on the pod. If frankly, when it comes right down to it, he was that younger voice.
that is the problem, is that we're a bunch of old dudes getting together, and we don't have the refreshing vitalization that Tyler brought. Yeah. So in other words, Tyler, I don't know where the hell Tyler's actually. I haven't seen him online in ages. Come on, man. We at least be a guest on the podcast again. I don't know what we did to you, man. All right. Hopefully he's okay. Like, I don't. Hopefully he didn't die or something. That'd be horrible. All right. So Noob in the Discord asked, "What makes your distro like the distro you like the most feel like your home or favorite distro? Like, why do you prefer the thing that you use and consider it your favorite?" So, Nate, why don't you go ahead and go first?
I think the fact that because I had an NVIDIA GPU and I was having such issues with Linux going from Fedora and Ubuntu and even Arch and a few other random distros that are still technically based on those three. When I got to Pop! OS and I used the NVIDIA installer, everything just worked. Like I literally had to do nothing, no tweaks, no nothing. It just worked. And I was like, okay, I can live with this. And then when I got used to the workflow, I don't want to go back.
So just a side story. Yesterday I posted a video about why this year isn't the Linux desktop, and one of the things that I put on there was because NVIDIA drivers are still crap on Linux. And over again in the comment section, people are like, "I don't know what you're talking about, man. NVIDIA drivers work perfectly fine for me, and they're very easy to install." Like, okay, those people are Pop! OS users. I'm just going to say those people have to be Pop! OS users, because otherwise they wouldn't have that experience. All right, what about you, Drew?
So I think we have to, I'm starting from a base minimal install almost always with Debian. And in that, I can build just package by package of exactly what I want. It is really carefully curated operating system that does not break. And that is the goal for me, is to have everything light, minimal, and stable. I mean, those three things. And so by Debian having a minimal install and not incorporating, like if I was to install anything else, other than Arch, you're basically getting what has been curated for you. And I don't want that. I want exactly what I want with nothing else.
You'd be a premier NixOS user. You know that, right?
I don't. I really don't.
It's all on a config file. Didn't you know this, Drew? You can just put it all on the config file. You built.
D-Dubs has said as much, but yeah, I get that.
D-Dubs, you're in the chat. One of these days, you and I are going to gang up on Drew and get him to actually try NixOS. Even if it doesn't have to be on his main machine, but we got to get him to try it, and then at least he can say, when people in his comment section, NixOS video when, you can answer like, I tried it, it was horrible, I don't want to use it again. All right, for me, I have the OpenSUSE sticker, and I guess I would still consider OpenSUSE my favorite distro. As for why I liked it because it was Debian, but with newer packages and a much worse package manager. But okay, I guess let me take that back. The reason why I really liked it was because Btrfs was set up out of the box really well. Like, it's fantastic. No other distro aside, like PicoOS. I don't know if you guys ever tried PicoOS. It's based on Debian's SID, I think, or maybe it's Debian Unstable. I don't know. But anyway, it's based on Debian, and they do a good job with Btrfs. But before they came out, OpenSUSE was the only distro that had Btrfs and Snapper set up out of the box where it just worked. It's fantastic, and I love snapshots. Like, to be able to delete Plasma off your system, put GNOME on your system, and then decide to change your mind a half an hour later, which I did over and over and over again, and then just roll back because you made that choice, was so cool. Now, NixOS has a similar experience, but it's not nearly as easy as just saying sudo zipper rollback. It's so much easier with the Butterfly. So that's the reason why OpenSUSE is my favorite. So let's see here. So we have a couple questions. Anyone use hardware made for Linux? I don't think any of us actually have made for Linux hardware. Although System 76, all three of us would happily be your bitches if you sent us computers for free.
You know what's funny though? That question. We use Linux because we're too poor to, but we can't buy the hardware to properly run. So we gotta...
There's so much truth to that. All right, so someone up there asked me a personal question, asked me about my NixOS experience. I won't go into in depth for other than say that it's good. It is 100% not a real distro, and I will suffer through the death threats for anyone who wants to come at me with it, but I'm even more 100% positive of that argument than I was when I made that video. It is not a real distro. It's Linux. It's not a real distro.
He's bored.
I am bored. It's good. It's good. I mess around with flakes. I somewhat understand what flakes are for. I don't know that I could explain them to anybody, but I can use them. I use Home Manager a little bit. I don't use Home Manager for everything. I switch themes way too much to use Home Manager for anything. I don't want to have to rebuild my system every time I change between Grovebox and Everforest, which would be like 3 times a day. But I use it for Bash and Git for a few things, which it's a good piece of kit. It's okay, and it's very stable. Like, you can't break NixOS unless you actively try to do so. If you just use it, it's as stable as Debian. Like, I just moved from one unstable release to another unstable release. It just worked. I didn't even notice it happened. It went from 2511 to 2605 or whatever it is, and it just seemed like another update. Like, even on Debian, when you update from one version to another, you still have to deal with some stuff. This was just like, it happened. All of a sudden in FastFetch, there was a new name for the release, and there you go.
Wow.
Yeah, it was good. But yes, I have 600 days, 600 days left. I am bored. It's fine. I'll figure out something to do. I ain't giving up. All right, so let's see. I have some other things. So I'm not. It's a stupid question. And this one's for you, Nate. I'll ask this one to you. I have an important question. This is from HRF Dude 4234 from 3 months ago. By the way, this was asked a while ago.
It's in the chat too.
Yeah, I have an important question. As we all learned from The Wizard of Oz, we all know that lions are cowardly. So why is the logo for Brave, the browser, a lion? Good night. We don't know. Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Can I just say, if the lions are cowardly, go to Africa and try to pet one. See how it works out for you. Just saying.
All right. Here's a question. So from Andy Galt, he asks, as a hopper myself, what is the secret sauce needed to stick to a distro for 2 years?
Oh, that's on you, but.
And he says, I crack open a champagne if I get to 2 weeks. I think for me, my answer is just, you have to want it. Like you have to decide what you want out of Linux. If you are a tinker and you like distro hopper, then you're just going to distro hop. Like, one of the reasons why I like distro hopping is because I like installing Linux. There's a reason why every time Drew puts out a Debian install video, I watch that shit. Like, and I don't just like watch it for like a few minutes just to give Drew a like and give him a few views. I watched the whole thing, and like midway through, I'll make a comment like, Drew, you're doing it a little bit different this year, or Drew, slow down, you know? Like, I'm trying to follow along. The thing is, I'm not going to install Debian. Like, I have no actual interest in installing Debian, but I'll still watch every one. So I enjoyed installing Linux. But there came a point where I wanted to challenge myself. So I think if you are a dedicated distro hopper, you want to challenge yourself to do it. You have to just find yourself a distro you know is going to be easy to do. Like, I wouldn't choose Gentoo as your first challenge. I'd choose Debian or OpenSUSE or even Nix even. It's something that you can be on for a long time, and just be prepared to wean yourself off the whole hopping thing. Nate, why are you showing us an Macintosh?
He's got an XFCE.
Yeah. Using Debian.
Nate, you've been using your own distro for a long time. Do you have any tricks for people who want to find their forever home and stop hopping?
I wouldn't say there's any tricks, because to be honest, it's all about whatever your need is. Like, you can have multiple different kinds of needs. Like, for example, Drew has a specific set of needs that he found with Debian that works just fine. But he's also not a gamer. He's also not an editor. He's also not a Photoshop type person. And so, but for him, Debian was perfect. For me, it's still missing quite a few codecs. And I had an NVIDIA GPU versus, some people have AMD. And if you have Intel GPU, good luck to you. Anyways, but, still, like, when you find that distro, and one good thing about distro hopping is you're able to test everything. But once you find that one distro that just hits every box, then that actually, like, when you keep coming back to the same distro, that's the actual one that you need to keep using. Put it on your workstation and leave it alone. Go get a different, you can find $50 laptops for stupid cheap. Just go get another laptop and make that your whatever that you want to hop to. Yeah, if you keep coming back to a certain distro, that's my tip. If you keep coming back to the same distro over and over again, that's the one you need to stick with. Also,
if you're hopping because you think that something is going to be better on another distro, you're wrong. Like Linux, for the most part, is Linux. Even on weird ass motherfucking operating systems like NixOS, it's still Linux. Yeah, it does some things differently, but nothing on like NixOS or Debian or Arch or PopOS is so much different than anything else that you couldn't, at least foreseeably, make that stuff work on the distro that you're already on. Even the NVIDIA stuff you could theoretically get working on another distro if you put enough work on it. And we know that's true because the same steps that PopOS made, you can make too. Now they have more connections maybe to get into the code of things, but theoretically, at least, you can make that stuff work for you. And oftentimes, hopping is just going to create new problems for you. Like maybe you'll have Wi-Fi on one distro and maybe your Wi-Fi won't work on another one. So,
sorry, Matt. I think that the reason a lot of people is exactly what you said. They'll distro hop because they're looking for something. They don't necessarily know what they're looking for, but is this it? Because I want to use what's the best for me. And if I don't distro hop, I never know what the best thing for me is. But once you kind of like, okay, that's good. Sometimes the best thing for you to do, though, is, since we're kind of exploring and tinkering by nature, kind of like reposition your energy to do something different in that space. Like if you've never used a tiling window manager, maybe try that. Well, especially while you're proficient at using a specific distro, just try repositioning your energy somewhere else, because that's really what we're looking for. It was looking for something new, and sometimes you'll never be able to kind of like develop something different interest unless you kind of sit with something for a while.
I will also say too, I actually have more respect for guys that actually stick with one distro instead of going into the peer pressure of you have to hop in order to be a true Linux person. And that's just not the case. If you like what you like, that's the great thing about Linux. You can use whatever you want, and you should use it.
I think for me, everyone uses Linux a little bit differently. So there are some people out there. There's a guy in the Discord who can't stand a distro for more than a couple weeks, and exactly who I'm talking about. And no, I'm not talking about the one that keeps going back into Windows. That's another person. There are some people who are just like that. They enjoy moving from place to place. They're not moving because, they're experiencing problems. They probably know more about Linux than the rest of us do. They just enjoy moving from different places and stuff. Not to call you out, D-Dubs, but D-Dubs, he has a favorite distro, I think, is NixOS. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he also likes trying other things. Like, so if you ask D-Dubs, how many distros do you have installed on your various machines, he'd probably give you a fairly large number. And there's some people that are just like that. They're tinkerers. They like to do things. And then there's like both of you guys, you found your distro. You get Pop! OS and Debian. You're probably, I mean, unless Debian is purchased by Microsoft or something, Drew's not going to leave Debian behind. Or they decide that they're going to make it an AI distro. I can't.
Wow.
Take that back.
Yeah.
The horror. It's just
Remove the Wayland.
It'll be years before that happens anyway. We'll be so lagging so far behind.
Yeah. AI will be good then, right? And same thing with you, Nate. You're like you found Pop! OS. That's your distro. Plus, you have all these other machines that if you want to try out on. So the thing is, I was saying, is like everybody kind of uses Linux a different way. For the people who are distro hopping for an actual reason, like you were talking about, Drew, to find their distro, there will come a point where they find it. You know what I mean? Like eventually they'll realize, what I've realized is that Linux for the most part is just Linux. Yeah, they have different package managers, and some of them do some things slightly differently and maybe even slightly better. But for the most part, you can you could pop me on Debian, you could pop me on Pop! OS, you could put me on Gentoo. For the most part, I could figure out over the course of a few hours and then just be on that distro forever. Like, yeah, I mean, I might have to reinstall eventually because I did something wrong, but it's going to be to the point where I can use this thing and just be happy with it forever, and it doesn't matter. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like eventually, if you're that type of hopper where you're looking towards something, you'll realize that you had a good experience on OpenSUSE. That's just the one you're going to go with. They fix Zipper. It's great. You can move on, and then you can start switching between text editors and figuring out which one is the best one of those.
Actually, this lends itself to the question that I was going to ask earlier. Was if you had to distro hop right now, where are you going?
Okay, Nate, you got a question? Answer for that one?
I can't get away from my video driver, so probably Arch.
For me, I think I would go to Gentoo. I think that I would go to Gentoo simply because I feel like that's the one distro out there that I've never given a fair shake to. Like I've used it somewhat, but I've never sat down and said, you know what, I'm going to use this for a long period of time. I suppose Slackware kind of falls in that thing, but Slackware is so old and crusty, and so I know it gets new stuff, but it just feels, I don't know, antiquated to me. So I don't think I could ever give Slackware its due, but Gentoo would be my answer. What about you, Drew?
So I'm just curious. There's 90 people in the chat right now. If you just say what you're currently on and / what you would like distro hop to, that would be cool. Regardless, I think I would go with Fedora. And that's actually weird for me to say because it's so different than Debian. But yeah, I think I would go with Fedora. It's kind of like a grown-up distro, I respect Arch, but I think I trust Fedora more. And maybe that's exactly what. Sorry, say that again, Nate.
Oh, I was just gonna say, basically, you're calling us kids. You said grown-up distro.
I did, yeah. Well, there you go.
I don't think Mr. CPA understood the assignment. I mean, just saying, you can't hop from Gentoo to Gentoo. I mean, it's just not the way that it works. That's not the question.
Well, okay. Now the question is he running Gentoo stable and he's hopping to Gentoo unstable?
That's not a hop. That's a step. Yeah. That's a slight shifting of direction. It's like moving from Debian stable to SID. Like you changed a line in a configuration file. Congratulations, you can move on. All right, let's go ahead.
Cool. I'm looking at the chat. Debian Gentoo, Cache to Arch. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, MX to KDE Linux. Well, okay.
Well, okay, that leads to the next question, because technically, if like CacheOS to Arch, Cache is based on Arch. Yeah. So would that really be the distro hopping?
Yeah, I don't know that you can go from let's say Linux Mint to Ubuntu or vice versa.
I think it counts though, because if you remember Arco's entire point of existing was for you to learn how to install Arch. Like that when Eric created that, he created the Arch Arco Linux University or whatever, and the whole thing was to take a step from his thing to Arch Linux. I think if you asked him, and he said this in videos a few times, was his goal wasn't to get people to use his distro long term. And I think that's one of the reasons why he stopped. Was he wanted people to use Arch, and I think that it counts.
Yeah, but he made it so stinking good.
The CachyOS to EndeavourOS, I don't think that one counts. like that doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. All right. So let's move on to another question. So, and I think this is a good one. So, from N1VZ3R on YouTube, they ask, is it worth, in your opinion, checking for who developers of some open source projects are, and if they have any part of any controversies or scandals before using that project? Or stopping using a project if their developers have incorrectly, from your point of view, political ethics or some other perspective that you don't agree with? So, in other words, do you guys have a woke meter on what software you use, or no? Drew, what about you? No?
I will absolutely not even respond to that question.
Okay. Nate, what about you?
Who gives a crap?
God, I thought we were going to have an actual discussion because I don't care either. We're all YouTubers, and we all get questions based on how could you possibly support whatever. Like I made that Omarchi video the other day. Well, I wouldn't use Omarchi because their developer is a fascist. Like, okay, I mean, first off, half the people who call other people fascists probably couldn't even fucking spell the word, let alone tell me what it means. So just, I mean, that's mean, but mostly true. So hold your horses there. But also, I just don't care because, first off, I don't believe he's actually a fascist. I don't know anything about him. I don't know his name. I don't care. As long as he's not literally, killing people, I suppose. I mean, if someone was a murderer, I'd probably not use their project, but I guess that's the cutoff line. Maybe that's a horrible thing and that's going to piss people off or whatever, but I just...
Let me backtrack then. So if given I was using PDDoS, yeah, I would probably tank on that one.
I mean, it's really hard because I drive a Ford, and Henry Ford was the biggest fucking anti-Semite you could imagine. Like there's pictures of him and Hitler. Because I drive a Ford, does that also make me anti-Semite? I don't get the correlation between I use this thing, therefore I agree with the person who created it. Like,
sorry, if you use PDDoS, the keyboard be too slick to type on.
Oh wow!
It's horrible.
Ba-dum-bump.
You were entirely fired. I mean, I'm just saying you are. That's just horrible. All right, but someone's gonna create that now, right? I mean, it's like,
oh, yeah.
like it's gonna happen. PDDoS is gonna happen now. Like it'll be right up there with Hannah Montana and Rebecca Black Linux or whatever. All right, so that question didn't go where I thought it was going to go. Now that, okay, this is obviously for me because you guys are using Emacs, but now that you're Emacs, have you experimented with Dear Ed? The answer to that question is yes. Okay, so we've kind of talked about this before in a previous episode, but we can talk about it a little bit more. Maisie Lover on YouTube asks, thoughts about community-based distros versus corporate-based distros? Yay or nay? Drew?
Yeah, I'm for community-based distros. I'm for community-based projects. I'm for community-based Git servers. So yes, the answer is yes. I choose to do that. I hate the fact that there's a political seemingly a political stand in having that opinion. But the truth of the matter is I don't give a shit. I want to support free and open source software. And if that means going with community-based projects, then that's where I'm going. So
Nate, as someone who uses a corporate backed distro, you shill. What are your thoughts on community versus corporate based distros?
So I'm like Drew. I actually prefer a community based distro, which is why I put Debian on this. But at the same time, I also know that, especially for certain things, if you want things to work, you kind of need money to back it. And otherwise, we wouldn't have the Linux distro or Linux kernel, should I say, because, yeah, it's money backed. So
Okay, so for me, talking to the microphone, Matt. Jesus, I was gonna lean way forward. Okay, so for me, I don't care one way or the other. There are benefits and negatives for both ways. So the biggest negative for me on a corporate backed distro is almost universally they have to care about getting sued. So like Fedora and OpenSUSE, getting codecs on them is a pain in the ass. Like it just is. Now, I mean, it's okay, you can do it, but you have to do it on your own. They're not include those because they're very afraid of getting sued by Hollywood, basically, and never doing anything. So there's that. Now, weirdly, Canonical says like, we don't give a fuck. We're just putting a button in the installer. You can have the codecs, have at it. You know what I mean?
There's also the extra part that's restricted extras.
Yeah. So there's that. And I think the downside of community-based distros is simply because I think on community-based distros, it's sometimes harder to get support simply because you have to figure out who to go to support to. And community distros often have a lot more offshoots. It feels like sometimes like Debian has a bajillion options. If you don't like straight up Debian, you can go use Pika, or you can use, I don't know, Spiral still around, but you can use Ubuntu, you can use all of these things. And, you can't have a problem on, Linux Mint Debian edition and expect to go to the Debian guys for support. So if that, it's a downside, but it's not a big downside. But so my answer is I don't care. Like I'm using NixOS right now. It's a corporate backed distro as far as I think there's a corporation behind NixOS, or at least there used to be. I don't even know. It's maybe half and half. I don't even, like I said, I don't know because I don't care. Like if the thing works, have at it. I mean,
maybe I heard the question wrong, because it's not like I have a strong dislike for corporation or corporate based products, but I thought it was more of a choice. And if it being a choice, then yeah, I'm gonna go. That doesn't mean I discount all the things that these corporate OSs have brought to the table. I would be foolish to disregard the contributions made by these companies. But the truth of the matter is, they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders, or for their profit margins and so on. So there is we got to straddle the line here a little bit too.
Well, I do feel like too that Linux is that perfect blend of actually corporations on one side and the community on the other side actually intermingling and creating good projects off of that.
I think they need both. I think you need both for them to both kind of sing. It was just more of a choice given the option thing. So, okay.
Someone has to pay Linus. I mean, he's not going to do it for free, and none of the guys who work immediately under him are going to do it for free, and there's not enough community free support for the Linux kernel to develop the thing, because it's like 40 million lines of code. Someone has to make sure Nate's floppy drives continue to work. Otherwise the world will stop. All right, so let's hear. What are your opinions on desktop market share to make Linux desktop noticed by major vendors such as Adobe, Autodesk, Epic Games, EA? Will we see behind the stage pushback from Microsoft to actively stop these vendors from supporting Linux? I don't think Microsoft has to do any of that stuff. Do you guys think that there's a set number in terms of market share that would cause Adobe to say, "Hey, there's that other thing. What is that?" Drew, do you think there's a number out there?
No, I think we actually, I think the three of us had a pod where we kind of said, okay, it's about 10%. When it comes right down to, if we had to put a number on it, and you got to 1 out of every 10 desktop users was to use Linux, that's significant. But that would also mean that we'd be doubling what we currently have right now in order for that to, for that to happen and for that to come to fruition. I don't know what that number is in actuality, but that's kind of like where I put it.
Yeah. Well, Nate, you have a number?
I still agree with what I said before, which is 10%. Just because if you honestly think about it, like when Microsoft was, the head honcho of all the OS, was it like 90 something percent that they had that all the computers worked on? Well, then everything, of course, was based off of that. But now that Apple's gained market share, more things are being created just for Apple. And I think that as you keep going, actually, Apple just released AirDrop to Android, come to think of it, not too long ago. It's kind of weird. But yeah, so it's just one of those things. Once you get a certain amount of market share, which I think will be 10%, then, that's enough number for them to actually make a profit. And it's going to be based off of actual paid applications. It's not going to be false. So just be ready for that.
It'll be web-based. It'll be web-based for sure.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was like, they're not going to develop it for Linux native. Like, it's just not going to happen, ever.
No.
Unless Flatpaks become the main source.
We talked about this, was it on I think it was last week's podcast, you and Nate and I, when we talked about Flatpaks, when I claimed that it was abandonware. I got some pushback from that, saying oh, Flatpak's not actually abandoned. Like, okay, well, show me the improvement over the last 5 years. It hasn't improved. It's still the same. I'm sure there are minuscule things that they've worked on in the background, but nothing user facing. It really is. So I don't think that maybe if Flatpaks or Snaps had proven to be the universal package manager they'd actually been promised to be when they first came about, maybe that would be the case, Nate. But I don't think, there's just so many problems with them. There's just so. I think that's one of the reasons why Resolve continues to refuse to do it, even though it makes 100% sense for us. If they made a snap of DaVinci Resolve, we'd be happy. We'd install snaps. That's how desperately we want a container of that thing. But it's just not. It's not. I think that there are legitimate problems with that. So I think it's going to be web. I think it will be 100% be web based and there'll be certain things like Photoshop. I think can be web. I think they've already actually have a web version of Photoshop. I think it exists. I think so. I think that it'll be like that. So. Someone in the chat asked, why is Fedora so much better than Ubuntu? You guys think that that's actually true or what? And I'm sorry, I missed their name. Their name is Johnny Fagan, 7568. Drew, you think that Fedora is better than Ubuntu?
In my opinion, yes. That doesn't mean it's true. I just think that if I had to pick one over the other, I would pick Fedora over Ubuntu. I think that it's much in terms of, and I know this is going to sound so weird for a Debian user because, it's different, really different in that regard. But I kind of like the idea. If I was going to distro hop, I said I was going to go to Fedora. So that's part of the explanation. I think I would actually prefer to be on a rolling release as opposed to a 6-month cycle. And Fedora has, I think it's become a much more stable. I didn't used to like Fedora at all. It's gotten so much better, I think, in the last even 2 years. So yeah, my opinion is Fedora, but I don't have a lot of data to use on that one.
I think Fedora, I think that one of the reasons why Fedora is much better now than it was, say, like 4 or 5 years ago is that they've run out of things that they're going to change. They can't create a new display server. They're on Wayland for the foreseeable future. They can't just say, hey, we're moving on to X13, or whatever. They're where they're going to be. They can't redo the audio stack. They've already done that. They're not going to create, unless they think like System D's dead, they're going to create the next, iteration of System D. I don't think that's the case either. So part of the pushback against Fedora has always been like, well, yeah, you're going to be Linux's guinea pig. You're always going to get the new things. Like when Pulse Audio first came out, you were the first to get it if you're on Fedora, and shit broke all the fucking time. Same thing with Wayland. Like they moved to Wayland before anybody else, except for like Ubuntu. I think Ubuntu actually moved for the first time first. I maybe have them timing off there, but still, like Fedora was the first one to go. But I think that they're at a point now where, and unless they're going to move to immutable like completely, that'd be the next thing that could change out from underneath you. As for being better than Ubuntu, I just feels like Canonical doesn't care about Ubuntu, so of course Fedora is better. Nate, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm going to go the complete opposite way. I think Ubuntu is better for two simple facts. If you're running an AMD GPU, it doesn't care. Either one, it's fine. If you're running NVIDIA, I feel like that NVIDIA works a little better with Ubuntu, just out of personal experience. And also, you have the LTS kernel. And that's one of the biggest things for me is I don't need a kernel every, 6 months or whatever, and then only have to update every year. I don't need that. I need my distro to last for several years. So
Drew, did you have something else to say?
No. I was going to say, I think those are all sound reasons. Yeah, I can't refute anything that Nate just said. The truth of the matter is I'm on that same distro that he's just talking about, And so I don't know, maybe I would go polar opposite. Maybe that's the only reason. I would just, start with something completely different than what I think it'd be, from my personal perspective, it would be, like I said, a complete departure. I would have to relearn a lot of stuff and actually migrate a lot of the projects that I've had.
Can you imagine how many scripts you'd have to rewrite if you moved to
smokes, it would be impossible. I have to do one at a time,
You'd have a whole new series of things to make videos about. Think about it, Drew.
Crazy.
All right. So Ibram Tech on YouTube asks, would you consider using Musel or uclibc instead of libc or glibc as a daily driver, and why? So in other words, are you going to get rid of everything that you know and love to use something else?
I can answer that. No.
I have tried Musel on Void. It's okay. It's like what is Alpine Linux that is completely devoid of GNU. It's kind of like that. It's quaint. Like you can use it, you can daily drive it. It's different. It's kind of like living without systemd. You can do it. There are tools that have come along that will help you do it. But it's different. The last question that I have, at least on the YouTube, we'll check the chat here in a second, is why do you think that GNOME Boxes is not getting the support it deserves? I don't know if any of us have. Either of you guys ever actually used GNOME Boxes?
No.
Okay, so
I have tried it, didn't like it, went back to Vert Manager.
Same. It's a GTK application. I don't use GNOME Circle applications all that much. Okay, so someone says systemd is Microsoft's backdoor into Linux. No. Systemd existed before they hired Pottering. Okay, that's true. I mean, it's just absolutely the truth. All right, so why do you guys stream together? Well, what do you guys use to stream? I was like, why do you guys because we're buds, okay? because a podcast just by myself would be pretty fucking lame. I mean,
that's called streaming. That's not called.
We use OBS and Audacity. That's what we use to stream and record. And that's what I think it's what we're all using, right? Is you guys are using Audacity to record your audio, and I'm using OBS to stream. So that's the answer to the question. There are other tools to stream if you wanted to. Like you could theoretically stream with FFmpeg. Tyler did this once. I don't recommend it. It's not a good experience. So OBS is the right answer. Let's see if I can scroll through here if there's anybody else that I missed. If you guys have questions, now's the time to push them in there in the chat before we end this and go to the nuggies.
Do you want to hit some of these that Drew created?
Oh yeah, let's do those while we're waiting. Drew, read us some of your questions, or one of your questions.
What distro do you regret recommending, if any?
Nate?
Gentoo. And that was a troll. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the person that I told you to go to Gentoo. He has never gone back to Linux from what I know.
Oh, no.
Oh, you're such a troll. You told someone that was new to go to Gentoo. Oh, what a horrible person you are.
Brutal.
That's just the... So in other words, friends, what you've learned is don't ask Nate for advice because he's going to give you the worst answer. I'm surprised you didn't point it from Linux from scratch, Drew or Nate. Jesus, what about you, Drew? You got to answer this question. I don't know if I have an answer to this question.
Back early on, when I was in my Ubuntu phase with a pile of PPAs. That was probably, and then I said, oh yeah, you just have to add PPA. Just add a PPA. Yeah, that's not a good suggestion long-term. So yeah, it was during that Ubuntu massive amount of PPAs that I recommended. So yeah, that was not a good.
Okay. So I think that I can't say that any of the distros that I've ever daily driven will qualify as being the worst, but some of the distros that I've tried have been bad. So like Anduin OS, when it first came out and didn't have an app store, messed with my brain and made me freak the fuck out. Like, it was the stupidest thing ever. It was like, here's a distro that is aimed towards new users, and you know it is because they try to make it look like Windows, and they don't have an app store. Instead, they point you towards a website with command line apps, command line commands to install applications. Like, that was the dumbest thing ever. They fixed it since, by the way, and I've talked to the developer or one of the developers, and you know they seem to be like good guys. But when they first came out, they didn't have an app store. That was the dumbest thing I'd ever seen in my life, and I spent 20 minutes in a video just lambasting them. Also, all right, so here, I think I've told this story before, but back in the day, there was a distro, an Ubuntu flavor called Ubuntu Web. And I was big into the distro review scene at the point where I was just doing those whole first look things that DT used to do. And I did this up for Ubuntu Web, and it's basically a Chrome OS style type thing, and it was, now that I look back, it seems kind of impressive, but I was mean, man. I was like, why does this thing exist? It's stupid. You have to sign in to use the freaking web browser. You have to do all of these things. And after I published the video, someone in the comments said, Matt, you realize the person who created this is 14 years old, right? And I was like, wait, what? I was so mean in that video. So I have no clue if that guy's still he's created several Ubuntu flavors since then. I don't know if he's still doing it or not, but yeah, it was a bad distro, but I felt bad for being so mean once I realized that it was just a kid. So that's mine. What about another question there from you, Drew?
I got one for the chat real quick. If you have the need for, let's say you're using tabs on your browser, do you want them on the top? Do you want them on the bottom? Do you want them on the side? So that's just for the chat, but you're welcome to answer that question, Matt.
My answer is yes. Oh.
Tabs on the bottom, tabs on the top, tabs on the side.
I will have all of them. Thank you for that. That's the reason why I use Vivaldi. I can put them wherever the fuck I want. Hashtag shill.
So my answer is monitor 1, monitor 2, monitor 3, monitor 4, monitor 5.
That's what I learned last week, Drew. Nate doesn't use tabs. He just, every time he needs a new tab, he just buys a new monitor.
Just adds a monitor.
That's the reason why he has so many. He never learned about tabs.
Yep.
That's so great. War Thunder, I can't be friends with you anymore, man. Tabs belong on the top where God intended them. That's just... Go use Windows, young man. You obviously don't believe in the FOSS way of life.
No, I have another question. It was intended for Matt. What's one thing that you changed your mind on? And there's only one right answer, Matt, for you. What's one thing that you've 180 degreed on?
Now I'm going to be worried about getting the wrong answer.
You should.
I mean, you should be. I feel like the answer is obvious, but I'm doing a whole Matt can't remember shit at the moment. So,
I bet Nate knows what Matt's answer is. You got it, Nate?
Well, then Nate can answer for me.
No, okay. I'll give it to you unless it's Emacs.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
It's a 180 degree change,
but it's not it's not actual. Okay, it is. It is in the fact that I like Emacs now. It's not in that I hate Vim. I haven't oh my God, Vim is horrible. No, I've put so much effort into the fucking Emacs. I can't leave it behind.
Do you have something, Nate? Just what's one thing that you've changed your mind on 180 degrees in the opposite direction?
Probably the fact that I used to say that I needed a Windows machine for gaming. Steam completely 180 that I don't really need it anymore for gaming. Use whatever I want.
I've got a minor one, a minor change. It snaps, actually. And
that's a good one.
I have to say that when you're using snaps on a Ubuntu server, it actually works. That's a fact. And I never thought I would say that. I never thought I would say, oh yeah, the snap is a really good option. but it is especially for Ubuntu server.
By far the easiest way to install Nextcloud. I mean, just not even close. I mean, I adore Docker containers, but sudo snap install Nextcloud is like, okay, what's next? It's crazy. Also, I had to inform you guys, but we can no longer be friends with War Thunder. He has false ideas on where panels should go and bars. The answer is the top, bro, not the bottom. What the fuck is wrong with you? You're a Windows user, aren't you? Like he's a Windows user.
That's fighting words.
He's been lying to us the entire time, pretending to be Mr. Fancy Schmancy, Mr. Linux Mint user, but really he's been in Bill Gates' back pocket this entire time, and just because he likes panels on the bottom.
Is that why you're so salty against Mint? Because the panels on the bottom?
No, I have many other things. Honestly, panels on the bottom are fine. I just like them on the top better because that's where they make more sense to me. Up there, out of the
audience poll, real quick: KDE or GNOME?
Oh Lord, it's the dragon thing all over again.
I know he'd get banned. He'd get auto-modded on the Discord server. My wife is the right side pan. You put the panels on the left and right thing doesn't make sense to me. Like, either guys ever tried to put your bar or whatever on the left or right side of your monitor?
Yeah, for like 2 minutes.
So, especially if you have multiple monitors, it really fucks with your brain, you know? I tried Quick Shell on Hyperland the other day, and you can put, actually it was Noctil, whatever the fuck, shell. I can't say the name. But anyways, you can put that wherever you want. And
Open box gets a little respect in the chat.
Yeah. Hyperland or Neri first. So we should use a real poll because a lot of people here are saying KDE, which is surprising. Who was it? It feels like it was on a lug. Someone said that KDE is the more popular desktop environment. Do you guys remember someone saying that? Maybe it was something else. But someone told me that KDE is more popular than GNOME. I don't remember what chat we were in. Someone said that, and it just didn't make sense to me that they said it. But they were assured. They assured me that there are more people using KDE than GNOME.
That's hard to spin with the number of distros that use GNOME as their flagship. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I would love to see actual numbers because I would be surprised. Because, I mean, Ubuntu and Fedora both use GNOME, and those are the biggest distros.
The numbers would be skewed, though, because not everybody's reporting of what they actually use. So,
well, yeah, I know, and it would be hard to get actual numbers, but I mean, it would be, that polls, I mean, just going by the last 3 elections or whatever are shit. So I can't just take a sampling size of my audience and ask them what they use. You're going to get a 50-50 split. I guarantee it. Like, every time I ask that question, 50-50. Straight up.
What's
and down.
Zorin using these days? Because they had like a shit ton of downloads.
I think they have GNOME in one version and XFCE in the other.
Okay.
At least that's the last time I checked. All right. I think nobody for XFCE. XFCE is amazing. It's also abandoned. We know that it's true. I mean, it's just like it hasn't been updated in forever, as far as I know. I mean, maybe minor updates, but I would be surprised. There's like one dude actually developing it, which is sad because it's the best desktop environment.
I thought he's not working on the port to Wayland.
At one point he was, but I don't know if he still is or not. I haven't seen any updates in like 2 years on it.
Oh shit. Okay.
Not like as in updates, like as in things pushed. I'm sure there have been those. I just mean like news. I haven't seen any news from XFCE. But granted, I don't follow it as much as someone else does, so they probably somebody in the chat can correct me. Anyways, I think that's where we're going to stop for our question and answers. If you have other questions, you can obviously email us at email@linuxcast.org. We'll answer them when we have a chance. So let's move on to the nuggies of the week. So, Drew, do you have a nuggie of the week for us?
I do. It's something called MDP, and I don't know. I'm the one that does not have dyslexia between the three of us, and every time I type MPD as opposed to MDP in the terminal. But what it is a markdown presenter. Okay. And it is what I've been using actually as markdown slides on the videos that I've been shooting for my 60 days, 60 video challenge, basically. So I've been using, instead of using some type of like PowerPoint or anything like that. I'm actually using Markdown, and in these slides, this MDP just kind of like slide 1, slide 2, slide 2. So everything is written in Markdown. It's fantastic.
Okay. That sounds cool. Nate, your Nuggie of the week.
Mine is what you told me last week, which is Bloom. If you ever have used macOS and you absolutely hate Finder with a passion, Bloom is the actual file manager that should be shipped with Apple devices, because it's fantastic. And I love the fact that I can do like split views, or I can even like split it into 4. I can do all kinds of stuff with this one, and it's great. I've been using it for over a week now, not turning back. So
Worth the $16, huh?
Yep, I even got the license.
All right. I'm going to steal Drew's thunder, because there's another application called Present Term, and this is another terminal-based presentation thing, and it's awesome. It also allows you to do a lot of stuff with Markdown, has a lot of animations, has themes, has the ability to put like embed videos and a whole bunch of other stuff that you can do. It is a little, I think it's probably more complicated. I don't know what yours is, Drew, how complicated it is, but this has a ton of different stuff in it, like added to it. So if you want to create like themes or presentations inside the terminal, like there's 2 awesome choices for you. It's pretty cool. I was gonna make a video on it, but I don't make presentations. So like I got halfway through, I made a presentation like, this is, I would never be good in front of an audience. So that's mine. Present Term is mine. All right. So I think that's it for this one. Next week, as I said in the pre-show, is our awards show for the year. So this is your guys' notice to start putting some notes together for the awards you want to give out. I will do the same. If you guys want to join us live, we record this live every Tuesday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And basically, the people in the chat have a fantastic time, sometimes roasting us, sometimes going on tangents about other things that have nothing to do with what we were talking about. So if you enjoy that kind of thing, you can watch us live, or you can watch the edited version, which comes out on Saturday nights. That's edited by Mr. Nate. Thank you so much, Nate, for doing the editing. I mean, seriously, man, you know how much I hate editing, and the fact that you do it for me, I appreciate it. So thank you so very much for that. You guys can get in contact with us on our YouTube channel. It's the best way to get a hold of Mr. Drew. There is Just a Guy Linux on YouTube. He is old now. He turned 60, and he's doing something very ambitious. 60 videos in 60 days. Is that right, Drew?
Yeah.
Tell us more.
As a matter of fact, that's funny, Matt, because I know that you have not seen the first video, and I actually mentioned you in the first video and said that when I talked to you about this, that you said, "Wow, that's ambitious." And so, yeah, I have very little confidence in myself that I'm going to be able to do this, but I am going to do the very best that I can to do 60 videos in 60 days.
Okay, chat. We need to see in order to ensure that your completion of your project, Drew. What we need to do is create a consequence for failing. So if you fail, you have to go use Gen 2 on your main PC or something like that. Yeah, you have to say, if I fail, I'm gonna have to, I don't know, wear a NixOS hat for a week. I don't know, something that you don't want to do.
Fair enough.
Would get you through.
Fair enough.
We won't force it onto you. You just got to do that. Self-policing. And Nate also has a YouTube channel. He's not just a guy Linux. He's Nate Picks Tech World on YouTube. He actually is putting up videos on hardware related stuff. So if you're into the whole hardware stuff and how it relates to open source and Linux and all sorts of that kind of stuff, go check out Nate Picks Tech World on YouTube. You won't be sorry that you did. And obviously, I am the Linux Cast. You can find all of my stuff here on the Linux Cast. The best way to find that is youtube.com/LinuxCast, or you can find my website, which is linuxcast.org. There you'll find previous blog posts and all of the episodes all the way back to season 1. We're getting very close to the end of season 9, which means season 10 comes next. It is not our 10-year anniversary. It's just Matt not knowing how to count anymore. So it's actually it'll be our 9th year, not 10th. But there was a year there where I did two seasons. So They're like had 4 episodes each. So sue me, and nobody ever said I know how to count. So that is it for this one. If you want to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and all that stuff, we appreciate it. And if you're watching us live, just one last thing, we are having our last Linux user group of the year on Thursday at 11:15 a.m. Eastern Time. Join the Discord for more information. linuxcast.org/Discord is where you can find that. So we'll see you next time.